All right, hi guys. I'm going to be talking about 128s today, and if you don't know what 128s are, they're a workflow hack in Ableton invented by ill.gates, and they're amazing. They're super powerful. It's the best way to access your samples. Instead of dealing with one sample at a time, you're dealing with stacks of samples that you can access from a single drum cell or a single MIDI note, right? So just to give you an example, so I have a stack of 128s, and I actually have it in several banks of 128. So in each one of these, there's probably 128, right? And these are like hits and explosions, so check it. Oh. So I'll do the VFX ones. All right, so I'm gonna, all right, so every note is a different sample, right? And so if you wanted to make some big impact line or something like that, right, say you want it to happen, every four or every bar. Let's turn this on so we can hear it. Right, so you just find one that you like. Find another you like, right? Find another you like. Right, and pretty quickly you've got cool, got it? So I'll reverse engineer this a little bit for you so you can at least figure out what's going on. But the other way that you can use it is if you throw one of these in a drum rack, well, not the MIDI clip, this device. All right, so if you throw it in a drum rack, it occupies a single drum cell. Right, and so then we can make some copies of this, right? Program different ones. So the way you select through them on a drum rack is slightly different. You need to go to this in out and see how it's playing a C3. So every single note is a different sample. Now I've got another template that I'm going to do a different video on where you turn a knob to change samples because you can play melodies, right? And so all the notes are the different pitches of that sample. But that's going to be in a different video. I'll give you those templates too. So check it. All right, I change what note is playing, so it's receiving a C#1. Right, I'm using this guy again. Right. Also, you're not getting my system audio. You're going through a microphone. So if none of these sound amazing, it's because you're going through my laptop microphone. Don't know what to tell you about that. I didn't want to deal with the system audio right now and routing that. So you can, program a bunch of different ones that you like here. And populate a drum rack that works. But it's actually usually better for this kind of thing to just use a MIDI clip, right? And just put where you want it. You can do that with cymbals. You can do that with anything. And the other thing you can do is you can build drum racks that are populated entirely by 128s, and then you can keep changing them, which samples they are, and it's like an infinite drum rack. So that's again, an ill.gates technique. He has this thing called the infinite drum rack. It's amazing. I encourage you to check it out. He's also got a video deconstructing these 128s that he did for Eskimon. All right, so I'll leave a link for that in the description. But I'm going to show you my version, which is a little bit more tricked out than his version. So you've got all these knobs, right? So if the shaper is basically saturation, it's built into the sampler. All these things are built into the sampler, right? But this is going to distort it more. You've got pitch to get it tuned quickly, a filter. I'm actually getting away from using these filters because I find that in here it's easier to control your filter and your cutoff together, right? So if I were to remove this mapping, right, so it's mapped to all these things, right? That's why I'm probably going to build a new template without the filter mapping. But this XY pad's really nice, right? And I can't drag it left to right. Right, so I'd have to unmap this, and then this is kind of easier. And actually, I've also been getting into using these morph filters, right? So I'm more likely to, like map the morph knob to this one, or something like that, and then, right, so you get the point though. You've got filters, you got like pitch envelope stuff, right? So if you want to like make it drop, so we could put this at like -24, right? And let's turn this filter off. Right, so you get the point. There's some FM in here. Right, so there's a lot of quick sound design tools built into these knobs, as well as the fact that it's a 128. So these are really, really, really powerful. The other thing you'll notice is all these crossfades down here. That's another technique that I developed iterating off of Dylan's original setup. I like the crossfade between the banks, right? So it's quick, easy layering, right? So each note, let me get rid of this FM. Right, that sounds so sick. It's awesome, right? But it's a blend between these two layers, right? So you got that, right? So you can blend crossfade between all these different banks. So you can crossfade between all these different banks, and I kind of like it better. So what I got for you is I got for when you only have 1 bank, 2 banks, 3 banks, or 4 banks. I don't recommend more than 4 banks. This is very rare that I've had this many banks, and not all of them are completely full, so that's partly why. Some of them don't have 128 samples, but you don't want too many samples in any one 128, right? Because when you load it, it's just going to take too long to load, and it kind of sucks. But so what I did is I did all these pre-fades or these crossfades and everything for you in advance. Right, so you can see that this is crossfading between 3 banks. This is crossfading between 4 banks to sort of give you like maximal options on how to crossfade. If the crossfades are too narrow, then it's hard to get it right in balance. So all you need to do to make one of these is it's really, really simple, right? You don't need to program this all. I encourage you to reverse engineer it because there's a lot going on. Definitely check out these mappings here, right? This is a lot, but just in general, if you just look at the one with 1 bank, you can see all the ways I mapped it. I've done a few things like turning filters on and off so that the filter's only on when it's working. Right. Same thing with the shapers. So the shaper's off, and then when I drive the shaper, right, then it turns on. That's something you want to do in general just to be processor efficient, right? And a lot of effects won't go completely dry when they're supposed to be completely dry. So if you macro map the on-off button or whatever to the macro knob that also controls the dry-wet, you'll turn off the device's safe processor and actually get dry when you mean dry. So, yeah, this one also has an attack knob because it doesn't need a bank changing knob. So all you need to do, though, is you just drag files here, right? So let's just say I look for kick, right? And I've probably got like a million kicks in my samples. So I could just like quickly make, a 128, right? Drag at least 128, or drag 128 samples. You want to be in key mode for this type. I'll do another video when you're on selector mode, but here you're going to be in key mode. You distribute ranges equally. You can see this is going, we don't have quite 128, so if you have less, I recommend duplicating. In this case, you can see this is covering 3 cells, so I'm going to need to duplicate twice in order to make it so every key is a different sample. You're going to find that that's going to work best for you. So distribute ranges equally. All right, you'll notice there's a bunch of them down here that are on the last key. Don't worry about that, because remember, there's like almost 3 repeats in this whole thing, so just don't hit the highest key. Okay? And so now we've got this 128 right here, and you'll notice that's all you needed to do. Just drop your samples in, distribute ranges evenly, you're done. I already built the template for you. So then you can take your folders and all these folders from different sound designers or however you have your library laid out, and you can build these on the fly. And it actually doesn't take long at all. You know, as you saw, you drag in the template, right? Save the template file in your library, but drag in the template, throw in the samples, and now you can just browse through here and be like, oh, I like this, but it's not fat enough. So just drive the shaper knob, get it in tune, right? Right, maybe you want to put like a little pitch envelope on it so it punches harder. Right, or whatever, like, you know, whatever you're into. But yeah, so there's a lot of sound design options here, workflow options. This should speed you up a lot just in like everything you do. I also do bass sounds, for instance, right? So let's check it. Bass. Go to user library, 128's bass, right? So Leviathan 2, these are the multi. Now let's use bass shots. All right, so I think these are tuned. I'm not positive, but if they are, I have them set out to be played by key, but you'll get the point. And I can show you how to convert from one way to another right now as well, but otherwise I'll end this video in just a second. Come on. There you go. So this is why you don't want too many samples, because it takes a long time to load each time. Yeah, so these are definitely tuned, so I use this selector knob, right, and that's cool because you can play in melodies, right? You can even automate the selector knob, but again, I'm going to do a different video on that to show you some cool techniques. Right, but if we wanted, say we wanted this to not be, there's actually a quicker way, but yeah, basically you want to make sure these are all covering everything again, go over to the key thing, and again, distribute ranges equally. I just did a round root key by accident. Cool. And now, right, so if you want to produce some badass bass line, all you need to do is be like, okay, cool, that one, and that one, and this one, and do something punchy here. Right, and then you've got a bass line. Or something, you know, I was thinking go like half as fast. Oops, I went in the wrong direction. Right, so you get the point. Yeah, so I can't give you these because they have samples that are owned by Leviathan, or sorry, by Black Octopus and stuff, and other people. And so I don't really have the rights to distribute those, but I do have the ability to distribute these templates. So you should be good just with these. So yeah, just take your samples, throw them in there, distribute ranges equally, and you're good. Enjoy. This is like really a game changer. I encourage you to make 128s all the time, right? Just as you go through it. It'll change your production, I promise. All right, see you guys.